What's up, everybody? It's my birthday. It's been a while since I've done another live video, but I just wanted to get back to you guys and do one more just because the holiday season is starting and I'm probably not going to be able to do any more in the future. But as you can see, I've got my Satan goatee going on here because it's No Shave Movember, and today's my birthday. And I have to say, this is the best holiday season I've had in a long time. My real topic I'll cover in a bit because it has to do with that. It's a little bit more of a philosophical perspective of the holiday season and how a lot of people feel and how maybe their year's been going. But so far, everything's been going pretty well. I'll do a quick market wrap for I guess for the past month and what I see coming into the future. I think now we're going into December. We've seen so much rallying. I wouldn't be shocked to see a Santa Claus rally in the stock market. Might even get a little correction just before it. I wouldn't even consider it a correction. It would just be a quick blip down, and then the next day we'd start some rallying and probably be towards the end of the year. Now, typically they say that if you start the year you end the year higher than you started it in the Dow is going higher the next year, and so far that's what we have right now. But really, I don't see the economy really driving the stock market or justifying the valuations. So really what's going on is we've got some pumping going on, and I've already said that, so I expect that. Today I triggered into another short position. I'm probably going to lose some money doing these shorts, but I don't care because that's what the shorts are there for. They're for insurance purposes, because if the economy craps out, I want to be able to have some money. So when the markets crash, I want to take some of that money off the table. I'm also riding it up too, not that aggressively yet, because I don't see the things that I'm looking forward to in terms of the dollar collapsing yet. Like I said, China will have to cut the peg with the US dollar. The world would have to start using the petro yuan and dumping the petrodollar. And when I start to see those things, then I'll believe that the dollar is finished. But at this point, we're still the world reserve currency. Due to Triffin's dilemma, we can print as long as there's any semblance of value in the dollar. And so we won't get hyperinflation, but we're going to get a pretty steady creep up of inflation in terms of the cost of our food, our fuel, unless technology really finds a way to extract fuel and to utilize it more efficiently. That could possibly bring down fuel prices. But in terms of food, there's no way to really eat your food more efficiently than you eat it now. I mean, you are what you are unless you become a robot, which I think that's what we're getting to. Eventually, they're going to try to make humans and robots one, because robots are going to take jobs because they're cheaper and they don't complain like people do, and they don't get political views like people do. I think eventually what will happen is what they'll do is they'll just make jobs voluntary for people, and they'll just do a universal basic income, which is very communist. But you never know. That might work. I'm kind of open to the idea, even though I hate communism. I'm open to the idea that people who volunteer are actually people who care. And so they'll work better than those people who try to go in for a pay. Because for some reason, employees don't think like business people, even though they're doing the same thing as business people. Business people sell goods and products and services, and employees basically sell their labor, but they don't think like business people for some reason. Employees think like parasites. They want more and more from the companies that they work for instead of giving more and more. And we're kind of seeing that same kind of perspective and philosophy in the United States as well, where people are expecting more from the United States than they're willing to give. They want free citizenship, free healthcare, free college tuition. They want free this and that and all kinds of things. And the reality of it is, if you want your country to prosper, if you really want to prosper, you need your country to prosper. And if all you do is suck the life out of it, then you're not going to prosper at all. And people like me who want our country to prosper, but we see the massive influence of the groups that bleed the country. We don't really want to take part in this country. So what we do is we start investing to preserve our own families and our own friends, and we wait for everything to crash so that all you people will go bankrupt. And then when everything goes bankrupt, prices drop, that's when we start investing in the country again. So we just let the socialism fail, and then we come in and scoop it up. However, when it comes to employees, I think that's a little different. Volunteers tend to do more work than people who get paid, because the people who get paid expect a paycheck, and if that paycheck stops, they get upset. Or if they increase their skills, they expect a higher wage, and really that's not the way we should be as employees, as citizens. We should be seeking the best interest. And also, as managers are also to blame for why companies fail, because they don't love their employees the way they should. And I know that's kind of weird because managers don't think that way. They think about the money, the bottom line. But the reality of it is, if you're a good manager, why would you invest in training of people, and then when the business slows a little bit, let them go? You think that's a cost savings. But yet training people and losing their skills is a huge cost to a business. It's not a savings. And so I think management is really screwed up in a lot of ways. I used to work for a grocery store. I'm not going to say what grocery store. Some of you who know me know, but a lot of the people who come to view my page from public comments I've made, and you want to check me out and you want to see what my commentaries are, you'll come in and you'll kind of see, and you won't really know much about me, but I used to work for a grocery store. I was actually a supervisor of a seafood section. I got promoted to a produce section later on, but I preferred the seafood because I was really good with the seafood. I knew the fish. I knew how to cut them fast. I could process orders. I knew management. I knew how to train my people. I had all my people trained. I had my department running like a well-oiled machine. And what I would see during the holidays, like Christmas or things like that, they would hire a whole bunch of people. Or when they would first open stores, they would hire a whole bunch of people. And those people were really good employees. They were really good workers. They were eager to work. And when they were getting trained, they were motivated to work. And then as soon as the holidays were over, New Year's came, business dropped off dramatically for a bit. And that's to be expected because people don't want to go shopping anymore. They just shopped a whole bunch for Christmas and New Year's and birthdays and Thanksgiving dinners and things like that. So they kind of want to take a little respite. But they will come back eventually. People still need food, especially in a seafood section. People eat fish eventually. And then times like Easter come. So it's kind of a cyclical business. So when Easter comes in April, the business picks up again. But you have spurts of busyness and slowness. And what would happen is right after the New Year's, they would cut a huge portion of the staff because they didn't want to pay the wages for people who are just going to be standing around. Well, the thing I found is that, yeah, the first week or two after New Year's was kind of slow, but then you'd have people come in from the holidays. They missed the fish. They haven't eaten fish in a long time, so they wanted to have some. They'd come to my seafood section. A lot of people would come in, and they'd find that we were understaffed. The quality of service went down. The wait times went up, and it took longer. There was a lot of inventory that was missing because now it fell upon the supervisor to do it all. And if I had like 50 people there taking things off the shelves, it's very difficult to keep up. But I would push myself and do it eventually. But it still was, this quality of service, I have to even admit, from my section was not as good because of the staffing cut. Now, if they had all those people working there, yeah, there were times when you didn't really need people. Okay, well, you let the people come in and then let them go. Or let them be on call or switch them to other jobs within the business. But don't cut them. Those are valuable skills. Switch them to something where you can employ them or move them to a store that's busier in the time being. But don't cut those people out of the workforce. And that's what managers do. They come out of school, they learn this philosophy from their business schools, they have no managerial experience, all they know is how to crunch numbers, and they think by computing numbers, the numbers don't lie, and sometimes the numbers don't, but the numbers don't always tell you the underlying psychology of what's going on with your customers and what's going on with your employees and what's going on with your line level supervisors. So, people would get frustrated when their hours were cut, and of course they'd go looking for other work. And eventually you lose those good people. They either quit, they do start becoming disgruntled and they get fired, or they just get laid off because the management doesn't want them around anymore. They're just unnecessary workers to them. That is part of the problem with American capitalism today, or the way corporations are running today. And that's why the valuations of the stock market, to me, are not justified, because people don't know how to manage other people anymore. They're just managing them as if they're inventory. And people are different from inventory. Inventory is what it is when it's made. But worker is skilled, and a skilled worker can constantly increase in value for you, especially the more motivated they are. So to me, that's one communistic ideal that I'm okay with supporting and kind of trying out. Volunteerism, because I've gone to lots of organizations where people volunteer. I volunteer for organizations, and I see that the quality of work and love that the people put into work when they volunteer is a lot higher level than when they're paid. They're not as demotivated as easily, because they're not getting paid in the first place. It is more a service out of the kindness of their hearts to do work for others. And so that's why I kind of am willing to see that kind of a test. That's something that, as a taxpayer, I'd be willing to pay for. A basic universal income for anyone who cannot find work, is willing to donate their time for something, and is loving enough to do it, and is appreciative enough to have some kind of work to do to keep them occupied, so that they don't turn to doing drugs, dealing drugs, or stealing drugs, or any of those kinds of activities. Now, this is getting into what I really wanted to talk about, which is being in the groove. Being in the groove. This is kind of like the philosophy of this discussion. I used to be in the record industry, and even to the point where I knew I was sort of towards the end. We weren't really doing records anymore, but there were still some places that would manufacture records. And you know how a record. I don't know if you know how a record. Some people listening may not know how records work, but a record was originally made out of shellac, but it's a disc that has grooves cut into it by a needle that is vibrated by sound while the record is spinning. So as the record is spinning, this needle is vibrating from sound, and those vibrations are recording grooves, these lines in the disc, so that if you pick up old records, if you're ever able to find an old record and look at it, it's got like these lines delineated in it. Those are the grooves that are cut from this needle that's recording the sounds that are being sent through, or the vibrations that are being sent through it. And to play it back, you have a record player which has a needle, and that needle gets in the groove, and when it gets in the groove, it plays the sounds back to you, or it plays those vibrations back and transmits them into sound, so that you can perceive those vibrations and hear the music or hear the recording. And most records were mass produced. They were pretty much the same. In the old days, you'd have imperfections. So if a needle wasn't in a groove, it would jump out, and the record would skip. It would skip to a different part of either the same track or of a different song, and it would just sound like, let me give you an example. Have yourself a merry little jingle bells, right? It would skip, and it would change the whole track. Life, in a lot of ways, is like that. So this is what I want to say to some people. Some people, when it comes to Christmas time, they get depressed, they feel lonely, and that may be any number of reasons why you feel that way, but there's a way you can change it. Because life is like a groove, and you don't realize it. You develop habits because there are things that you start doing and you feel comfortable doing it this way, and so you'll keep doing it. And in a lot of ways, you don't realize you're doing the same thing, but you develop what's called a routine, even if you don't think you have a routine. Most people's routines, they set up, I'm going to wake up at like 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. and I'm going to shower at 6:30. I'm going to eat breakfast at whatever. And like they pretty much lay out the agenda for each day and they follow it as a routine. They routinely follow it. Well, even people who don't do that, who don't manage their time well, they develop routines. Even if you're the type that everybody tells you you're lazy or you are not, you don't have your life together, you don't realize it, but you have a routine. You do things every day the same way. Maybe a little different to you, but it's the same every day. You get into the groove of things. You have now recorded your own record, your own life, and it has grooves in it. And the way you live your life is the way that needle gets into the groove, and it doesn't get out of that groove until you do something to skip it to a different track or to a totally different thing. And so what I've noticed is like my wife used to always walk into the bathroom after I would shower, and I always would put on like my cologne before I go out. She would walk in right at the moment that I would put on my cologne, and she was always mad at me. Why do you have to spray such strong cologne? Why do you have to spray such strong cologne? The next day, I get out of the shower, I go to spray my cologne, she walks in right at that moment. The weirdest thing, both of us have routines that we developed out of the comfort zones of our lives, where we do things where you start to feel comfortable doing it, and you do it again and again and again, becomes routine. And so she developed a routine where she would always know, subliminally, she'd hear that my shower would stop, the water would stop running, and she would come into the bathroom a certain number of minutes after I'd get out of the shower, because it took me that certain number of minutes on my routine to put on the cologne. And she would walk in at that very moment when I would put the cologne. It was flawless. Every single day she'd walk in right when I was putting on the cologne, and she'd always make the same comment. Why do you have to spray that stinky stuff, that powerful stuff? And it's powerful because it just came on. There's alcohol in it. She breathes it, and of course it's strong. And of course she was pregnant at the time, so women's sense of smell is a little bit more enhanced because they want to protect the baby. Their body wants to protect the baby that's inside, so their nose becomes more sensitive to smells around, so that if there's anything toxic, the baby won't get poisoned and she won't get poisoned, so that the baby stays alive. So she would walk in and smell that really strong smell right when I would do it. And I started to realize it. It's a groove that both of us have. We're a routine. And I decided I'm going to get out, and I'm just going to try to, in the back of my mind, remember the moment I'm about to spray, and I'm going to stop. I'm not going to spray the cologne. I'm going to set it down. And I started changing my habit little by little each day, being aware of it. And what I noticed is that I would go reach for the cologne, and I would stop myself. And I would sit there and look in the mirror, and the door would open. And I would tell her, look, you just walked in right when I was about to spray the cologne, like I always tell you. And it was a funny thing. We both realized that we had grooves in our lives. We had set up routines that we were just following automatically, like robots, like programmed robots. It's a program, basically, that we as humans follow. Now, I'm going to tie this into why you may not be having a great Christmas, or you may be depressed every Christmas or every holiday season. You may be lonely every holiday season. There's something you're doing that is putting you in a rut, is in a groove that's not a good groove for you, or groove you don't approve of. And just one more example of a groove. Criminals will stake out neighborhoods. Well, staking out a neighborhood means they'll park on a neighborhood during the day, and they'll watch a neighborhood, see how everybody in the neighborhood behaves, because they know everybody has a routine. They'll watch who leaves home for work at what time, and what time do they come back. They may do this for a whole week. They'll stake out a neighborhood. So they know whether your house is empty at certain times, or how many people leave and how many people stay. They'll know your neighborhood by the grooves that you've created in your life and that you just automatically follow. And those kinds of grooves can make these criminals make new grooves about you, so they can break into your house and give you a bad year and steal from you and rob your house. Or bullies can watch how your kids walk to school, and they'll follow your kids and beat up your kids because it's the same thing every day that they do. So grooves can be positive or negative. And this is what I'm getting into philosophically. If you're having a bad year and you're depressed, it's not you, or it's your behaviors more than anything. And it may not be your behaviors only. It may be behaviors of other people's that you've gotten into the grooves of, and they're guiding your life in the wrong path. There are a lot of people out there who like to push, they look for people like you. If you're lost in the world, you don't know where you're headed, or you don't know what your life's going to be like, people look for people like you so that they can take control of you, so that they can make money off of you. A lot of network marketing businesses are like that, where they'll get you. You look like you're aimless. Hey, come here, join us, make money with us. And they program you to do their business so that they can gain revenue off of you. Of course, some businesses you make revenue as well. So I'm not against network marketing, but there are some businesses where people will take advantage of you, where they'll sign you up just so they can make money for signing you up and getting you to do work, but you don't see any dollars from it. And you have to kind of wake up to these grooves. You have to kind of start becoming more aware of these grooves. First, by how you behave. And when you behave a certain way, when you interact with someone else and they behave a certain way, you can start to recognize there are grooves. Every day I'm going to start seeing this person. This is going to happen. And this is the result. You'll start to be predictable. And the outcomes will become predictable. You'll start to know the future in a lot clearer way. This is how I do my investing. I've talked about this before, where I've made mistakes in investing, and I've also learned from them. And I make sure I change the groove so that I can benefit from it eventually. So this is my philosophy thing for you. Find the grooves in your life that are making you depressed. And instead of thinking about ways you can end your life or end the life of somebody else, if you're thinking like that, those are no good thoughts. You should never be thinking like that. There's so much in life that we all do not get to see because there's just so much. And there's so much beauty in this world. And there's so many great experiences. Why would you cut yourself off from those experiences? If you've never experienced anything great in your life, why would you end your life? Why would you do it at that point? Don't cut it at a bad point. First of all, your life's not your own. When it's your time to go, you'll go. There are enough things out there in this world that will take your life from you. You need to start focusing on positive things. And I'm saying this not just if you're suicidal. I'm also saying it for people who feel like there's no hope in this world. There's no hope in the economy. We may be going to war. They look at all the news. There are all these molesters. There are these people raping people. No. Get that out of your mind. You don't control those things. But the main thing you can control is yourself and your thinking. And the best thing you can do is start to get to know yourself. Start to get to know the things you like. What makes you happy? Who cares what other people think about what makes you happy? Because if it makes you happy, make yourself happy as long as it's positive. If you're the type that likes to kill things or whatever and that makes you happy, no, of course not. But if you're the type that, you're a guy and you like Britney Spears, if you're ashamed of that, keep it to yourself. But love Britney Spears. Go and listen. I love Britney Spears. I love her music. She's a little weird. Sometimes she's a little satanic, and I'm a Christian. I don't like that stuff. But her music is good in a lot of ways. Not good in the message, but good in the sound. So I like to listen to good music. And I don't let anything stop that. But I know what I'm listening to. I put a guard on my mind so I don't learn negative things. Put a guard on my mind so I don't learn things that are against my faith. But it makes me more aware as a person. And now as a father, now my daughter was just born. Great birthday gift for me. Great Thanksgiving gift. She was born just before Thanksgiving. My son is born. As a father, now I have experience with the world so that if they experience things, I can see it and I can help them with it. But I know who I am. I know what I like. And I don't let anybody tell me otherwise. If people want to say, hey, you should come do this, I go, okay, yeah. I just tell them, yeah. Because I don't have time for that. I already know what I need to do in my life, what goals I have, what path I want to follow, and I don't let anybody change it, no matter how strong they are. I don't let their opinions of what I'm doing change it, because I know already what works for me. I've experienced it in the past. Like I said, with my market experience, when I go and I invest, if I've lost money, I thought about, why did I lose that money? I didn't sit there and cry and slit my wrist and my throat. I sat there and figured out what is going on. I analyzed it. And if you're somebody who's always surrounded by people, it's very difficult for you to self-analyze what's going on in my life. You need to get away from a lot of people. That's why gangs are no good. And that's why if you're hanging around friends that are stronger than you and they're guiding your life and your life's not going well, you need to get away from those people. Sometimes you need to be able to cut people off in this world because they're not good for you. Not because you don't love them, but it's because what they're doing is showing you that they don't love you. They're really selfish and they're guiding you towards destruction. People who love you don't guide you to destruction. They guide you to success and prosperity. And so these are things that if your Christmas is bad right now, take some time by yourself. Take some time to enjoy the sadness and loneliness that you're experiencing right now. Because it's through that sadness and loneliness that you're going to start to develop an appreciation for who you are. And sadness and loneliness build character. You eventually learn to embrace the sorrow and you embrace the sadness because those are things that make you beautiful. The pain and sorrow of the world are often what makes you appreciative of the good and beautiful things in this world. I don't know if you realize that. I used to have a hard life when I was younger because I was hanging around gang members and letting them infect my mind. And I was always sad. I was always depressed inside. I was getting suicidal at some points. But I always noticed that I know good music. I know good artwork. I love travel because when I would travel places and I would see land, like beautiful sceneries, it would make me cry. And here I'm this tough guy, wannabe gang member guy, and I'd be crying at beautiful sights. And it made me realize, man, in order for you to cry, you have to recognize beauty. And if you recognize beauty, you are beautiful. And you don't realize it. That's why they say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You beholding the beauty. You're the holder of that beauty. You are the beauty of this world. So start embracing the sadness. Realize that the sadness and the loneliness is what makes the beauty of seasons like Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and Valentine's Day. These sad things are what make you appreciative and loving of the beauty of those seasons. And instead of fighting those seasons and wanting them destroyed because you're sad, you'll begin to say, I can't wait till Christmas. Christmas is almost over. I can't wait till next Christmas. I can't wait till Thanksgiving so we can have those wonderful meals. I can't wait to see all those relatives that I haven't seen in a long time. Then of course, unless your relatives are abusing you, that's a different matter. But in which case, maybe find some different people to hang out for those holidays. But embrace the sadness and the loneliness you're feeling right now and make it a different groove. Maybe you hated that groove before and you kept trying to skip out. Make that groove different so the sounds that come... I got pause there. So the sounds that come from the groove of your life will be magnificent and they will affect other people who will also behold the beauty of your groove. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you to all the people on Steemit who are supporting me. I'm almost at 500. I'm going to do a giveaway pretty soon. I appreciate all that you've done, and I'll pretty soon. I'm at 470 followers right now. Probably about 480. I'm going to set the groundwork for the competition of my giveaway, and we can go from there. But I appreciate it. Always continue to support me on Steemit. Subscribe, follow, upvote on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notifications button. Although, like I said, this Christmas, I'm not going to be doing as many videos until New Year's. Who knows? I might. It depends what happens in the markets and in the world. And follow me on Facebook. If you're seeing this, you already know what I'm on, so you can kind of see it. And as you follow and you repost it and re-steam it and stuff, other people will see it too. I'm not as famous as other people, but I'm getting some good followers, and I kind of don't want to rush any type of fame because I'm not really in it for that. I'm really I'm in it so that I can spread good news, good word as a Christian to anybody, whether you're Christian or not, whether you're happy or not. I want to bring you into the prosperity. Whether you're American or not, I want you to realize freedom, happiness, prosperity are all tied together. And if you're missing one, the rest aren't going to be there. You need to build a good foundation. So I love you guys, all you followers of mine. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me. Continue to do so. And I look forward to seeing you into the new year. Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous new year to all of us. No matter what happens, if a market's crash, whatever, crashes are a good time for us to start afresh. Just like when you get sick, it's a good time for you to get better and to appreciate when you are healthy, and be thankful for all that you have. I love you guys. Take care.